we have this potential to become a biophotonic superconductor, a 2.5 trillion volt human. And the benefits of that is our intuition becomes like a satellite, our immune system becomes impenetrable, and our experience of life becomes much more joyful.
That's an invitation to the deeper story of who you are,
yes,
and what you're here to do.
How do we use smart supplementation that gives us the capacity to be able to charge the human battery and to give and receive more light?
Without full spectrum minerals in the body, our frequency can't fire. Most supplements fail us because they ignore absorption, coherence, and charge. So there's been secret societies throughout time that have known about these substances, but the true power of has been hidden until now.
The concept of light was introduced to me first, I believe, by you 3 years ago. I can't believe it was 3 years ago. It feels like it was yesterday. And then I went into the science of the biophotons and how it's actually like our body will emit light. There's measurable light that's emit from our body. I'd love to go into light as nourishment. And by the way, the fact that we are light. So you mentioned sunlight and, you know, I have the red light therapy that I do with the Lumitol and the methylene blue. But question for you, light, it nourishes us, yet we are of it. We emit light, but we also deserve light to nourish ourselves. Mm-hmm. What's the science and your own understanding of that?
Yeah, I mean, we are light. We have so much more light potential. We're coming out of a period where there's been a lot of density inside of our biology, and our cells haven't necessarily been working together as biophotonic light emitters. So I guess what I mean by that is like a cell has a millivolt potential, and once our cells come online, that millivolt potential can actually start to work in phase, meaning rather than being separate systems, there's a word that we're using, a biophotonic superconductor. And there's intelligence or energy intelligence. And what that really means is there's a state when all of our cells are working as nodes or batteries in a unified field of light. So there's the theory of like a 2.5 trillion volt human. And where that comes from is each cell has a voltage reading of, let's say, that cell potential is minus 70 millivolts at a resting state. But which is 0.07 of a volt, if you times that by 37 trillion cells, you get around 2.5 trillion volts. So again, if all of our cells come online in phase, we have this potential to become a biophotonic superconductor. And the benefits of that is like a crystalline mind state, our intuition becomes like a satellite, our immune system becomes impenetrable, and our experience of life becomes much more joyful and much more coherent and much more aligned and much more enjoyable to be here, which is so important at the moment.
I wonder if that's ever been measured scientifically, where if people would join hands, let's say in the circle, there's been these meditations that can alter the resonance on the earth, right? They can literally alter the earth resonance. Have you ever seen that measured in some way, where if people join hands or cohesive meditation?
I mean, Jerry Tennant's work talks about it quite a bit. He talks about voltage and charge. I feel like because of the state of our biology, it hasn't been measured in phase. So that intercellular communication hasn't got to a point where it's measured in phase. And we don't see the body as being able to have the potential to align that voltage in phase as an electrical circuit.
Yes.
That's what's changing now. As we enter the golden age, as we're in this invitation for genetic liberation, That's the invitation, is to become that biophotonic superconductor where everything lines up. And, the energy, the light, and the intelligence of the body, the resistance of all of that is gone. And so it actually upregulates the whole system into like a crystalline matrix that's operating and oscillating with the field, so that we are literally turning into a brand new human species like we've discussed in the past.
This is so mind-blowing. I just learned from one of our mentors and friends, Paul Chek, that the body's fascial system has piezoelectric current.
Yes.
So it's a piezoelectric crystal. So when we move, you talked about movement earlier.
Yeah, totally.
When we move, we're nourishing the light through piezoelectricity in our fascial system, which is like, yeah, movement is medicine, but I want people to like really pause the tape. It's truly medicine, because if we're really a superconductor, or we can be, then how amazing can we combine taking in light, giving out light, and moving our bodies? We really don't need much else. We talked about this, I think, on round 2, the sun gazers and the breatharians and people that are actually in a caloric deficit, yet they're super healthy. I wonder, from a movement perspective, how big is that for nourishment? I know you're a big movement guy. You roll around on the mat with lots of dudes and get sweaty and play.
Yeah, that sounds a bit weird.
The movement, well, what's the specialty? What's it called?
Jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu, which I'm going to get my son into. That looks, it's so good for kids.
Yeah, it's great for kids.
So the playfulness and moving, it seems like it's really just play. It's like we have you're very steeped in science, which I love, because I think science and spirituality deserve a seat at the table, because they're one and the same. But really what we're talking about with movement as medicine is just play. Yeah. If we're really nourishing ourselves, we're playing. We're turning the seriousness of life into play, which is movement. Do you feel that?
Yeah, totally. And I think just like breaking that down really simply, it's like the body's a battery, and that let's look at the cell. If the cell's like either in resonance or dissonance. Yeah. And I think things like movement and natural light, they all help charge that cell too, massively. So I think, movement's a huge piece that sometimes gets overlooked with the science.
Yes.
Because we can get really heady and mental and in the mind about, I need to take this supplement or this therapy to do this thing. But I think walking in the light is just like what you're saying, is charging the cells.
And how do we use smart supplementation, not just because there's an ocean out there of supplements? How do we use smart supplementation that scientifically is validated, but also spiritually we just know is true, that gives us the capacity, that's the key word, the capacity to be able to charge the human battery and to give and receive more light. That's essentially what drew me to MANNA. And full stop, you guys, I just did a talk at, we'll link it on the screen right now if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, at Dave Asprey's Biohacking Conference. And the whole talk was about basically the golden rule, learning how to unconditionally love, which ain't easy. It ain't easy to learn how to unconditionally love, but we can't love ourselves or others if we are dimmed, if we don't have light coming from our body and going into our body. How do you see MANNA at its current evolution giving us more light beyond what you've shared in the past?
Yeah, I feel like most supplements fail us because they ignore absorption, coherence, and charge. So MANNA's really looking at those 3 areas. And we get the absorption through nanotechnology and having the gold in a nanoparticle form, and also working with fulvic acid, which activates minerals. And also fulvic acid can cross the cell membrane barrier, so it can take nutrients in, including light, and it can remove toxins. And that coherence that I spoke about. So, and the charge. The charge is really important as well, the charge of the cell. So to get more light in, like getting sunlight is so important. Sun gazing is so important. But taking supplements that have light in them and have energy and frequency components to them that are super high. So that's what we spoke about last year, was we created the highest frequency supplement on the planet because it's got the gold in it. And the gold has a unique property where it has all of the different light waves of light and the frequencies of light from the sun. It's the only substance, it's the only metal that has that. When it's broken down into a nanoparticle size, it becomes non-toxic, becomes bioavailable, and can pass through that blood-brain barrier getting into our fluids. So back to the movement as well, if you're taking these light-emitting substances and you've got the movement, including like the blood flow, which is transporting it all around, not just for, I guess, injury and repair, but to actually amplify the light in the interstitium and the cells. That's the greatest thing we can do for raising the frequency of our crystal, of our vessel, so that we can be as online as possible and have the best human experience as possible, which is really like aligning with our dharma or aligning with our purpose.
Yeah, the biggest piece on this for me that I got clear on this past week was just turning seriousness into playfulness. I've come across this earlier version of Josh that was so serious, you guys. He was like tripping out on his own seriousness and intellectualism, which I'm a product of my environment. I'm shedding a lot of beliefs, as all of us are. But one thing that really came through, I was taking 3 packets of manna per day. And I messaged you both. I was like, is this safe? Is this okay? And you're like, yeah, I did 15. So I thought that was really cool. And I trust that the way I felt in my body when I was creating the slides, when I was pouring my life into what will be the next 10 years of emotional epigenetics, I could feel a difference in my subtle energy body. I wasn't levitating or floating on a cape or anything, but I could actually feel my cells responding to the increased light through the gold in a way that I had never experienced before. I had done 2 packets, but 3 is a whole new game. What do you make of that? Like, why was I experiencing creativity, flow, being present? Also, I was processing a lot of emotions. I found that the gold allowed me to, through the chalice of renewal, that feminine energy on the microphone here, it allowed me to feel things that I had not felt in quite some time. Granted, I was going deep into my spiritual work and creating the talk, but what was that? Because it felt to me that it was way more than just physical. It felt spiritual. It felt emotionally charging and emotionally discharging at the same time.
From my perspective, that cell membrane potential was able to have that voltage and that charge to where it was then able to act as a crystal. So your physical biology was online.
Yeah.
And then as a crystal, you were able to interface with your spiritual side, whether that's your high dimensional self or the universe or however you want to language that.
Yeah.
But, without full spectrum minerals in the body, our frequency can't fire. So you would have been primed from a mineral perspective. You would have been primed from a light perspective with the gold. Remember that gold's going through the blood-brain barrier into the amygdala, getting into the medulla oblongata, which is regulating all of our body's natural functions, like breath, heart regulation, and it's getting into the fluids. So it's bringing you online.
Literally and figuratively both.
Yeah.
Because I had memories that came through, and especially dreams. The dreams I was having were so visceral. I would wake up and go, is this a dream or is that a dream? Like, which one's actually real? And I think about, it's on the screen right now. It's an electronic capacitor in the electrical system. And I didn't know this. This is another God moment I was sharing with you guys. The pentagon is the same structural form factor as the capacitor in the electrical system, with the 2 nodes on the top and the 2 walls on the floor. And then in sacred geometry, it's about balance and harmonization. And I didn't even know it when I chose the logo, and now I'm creating the program for the life method. It's so surreal. What do you make of the electrical system in the body? I hate that word nervous system, because when I hear the word nervous, it has a bit of a anxiety to it. So I've been using the phrase neural tree, which I found to be the truth from my own research. Brad, when you look at the electricity that's in our body, and even what I just shared with you, the capacitor that was on the screen, and how when we're nourishing the 5 sides of ourselves, we become a more energetic capacitor. What do you make of that from a voltage perspective that can be induced by the minerals, by the shilajit, by the ormus, and really by the gold too? All 3 work in harmony.
Yeah. I think it just comes back to what we're saying about the charge. And we want to get it in those millivolts back up to minus 70, right? Like, I think on average, sitting at a -24 is like average, and anything below that is sort of sitting in that inflammation, dehydration, and where disease comes from.
Yes.
So I just think with that electrical system and with the body, that charge is just so friggin' important. And I think all of the things you're talking about with the minerals and all the products are doing that. They're doing that all the time. So I think combining that with movement and light, all those things make that electrical system, it's like a CPU or GPU in a computer, right? And that's more light. It's just transmitting light all through that computer. And it's the same with what the gold's doing. And you're talking about dreams. The same thing happened to me. So I feel like when that light's getting into that subconscious,
yes,
there's almost like a challenge between not dark in a nefarious way, but dark and the light. And the light's always going to win. So it's like the external world's going to do the same thing. And that's what Dave's talking about, what we're going through in this cycle at the moment.
Yeah.
The light's going to win. We call it God or universe. It'll always win. And I think that's what we're talking about, the electrical system coming online. And I feel like we're just prepping for that with those subconscious dreams that may be a little bit dark, but they don't go on for days. They just, as soon as you wake up, it's like, what was real and what wasn't? And I think that's an invitation we're talking about. That's an invitation to the deeper story of who you are,
yes,
and what you're here to do. And I think that's, if we're talking about charge or light, all of that is what we've tried to do with all these products, is an invitation and give you all the light that you need and all the charge you need to sort of find out what your dharma or your purpose is here. So yeah, I feel like the electrical side of things is, and that CPU and that gold, because that's what they use.
It was so wild, you guys, knowing that 3 years ago, my higher self was directing me to put these shapes on the mic flags if you guys are watching us on video. And then 3 years later, it clicked. It was like remembering. It's this intellectual thing that I've played with for so long that I think many of us, we go metaphysical shopping. You know, we'll do the Dave Asprey conference. We'll go to Tony Robbins. We'll go, and I'm sure you guys have been to many conferences, right? Where you feel a temporary charge. But the sustainable charge of love and knowing who you are, actually waking up in this dream and remembering who we are, can't be intellectualized. It's not something that our mind codes. It's something that our body knows how. And I feel like when we use a smart supplement, it becomes this scaffolding where we don't have to effort so much. We don't have to try so hard. But it's a paradox, because we live in a society, and especially here in North America and even in Australia too, there's a lot of things that want our light, but they want to take our light from us and use it for, let's just call it nefarious things or deleterious things. This is a spiritual movement, Manna. It's way deeper than just electricity and the pentagon and the capacitor. The spiritual essence of why I love the product and why I use it so much is because I believe in the truth of who I am. I'm remembering who I am, not just through the metaphor of the designs on the microphone, but I can feel it in myself. And that's a journey that you've been on. I remember you slept at the Dead Sea for many nights. The spiritual component to Manna is way more than what was talked about in the Bible. The spiritual component is something that you both have lived. You've lived it in your journeys. You've been there. You've done the things. What bubbles up for you reflecting on your spiritual journey and 10 years in the making plus of Manna? The spiritual energy behind why you're doing what you're doing, what's palpable there for you? What is that?
Yeah, I guess understanding the potential of the human potential and understanding the truth of who we are, which is that connection to all things, and that God essence is flowing through all of us. And if we're connected to that, and when we remember that, well, we're always connected to that. And when we remember that, then again, life can be that joy rather than, the suffering and the pain and the challenge and the drama. So it's a big part of what we do at Manna is we're modulating and priming the body's intelligence to be more efficient. And the benefit of things being more efficient is we've got more time or energy to focus on things that are glass half full or things that are joyful. And that's our opportunity is, through this golden age and through this period of liberation is actually to enjoy the earth and enjoy each other and enjoy our connection to God, so that it's a joy to be here. So I guess when we were traveling through those spaces and spending extended periods in those spaces with nothing, and we actually realized we didn't need anything except that nutritional charge from light, the elements, our connection to nature, and the minerals, then it just made sense that that was our life's mission, was to share that with the world so that everybody else has the opportunity to connect into that truth and that salvation. And I just can't think of a better thing to do at the moment.
One of the things that came through for me that I will say that many people are afraid of saying, but I have no qualms about saying it, is that I am a son of God. I'm a son of God. We all are. We're daughters and sons of God, that which created us. And there is a kind of illusionary war that I felt ever since I was a child, that you have to respect everyone's walk of life and everyone's spirituality, and everybody can sleep with anybody they want. And, you can live your life however you want, but it's a yes and, because God only hears yes. There's no in the universe. So if I come to the table like this, and I'm really just bringing curiosity about how can we make this human battery more full so that we can play more, that answers the ultimate question of, well, isn't that what God wants for us anyways? Doesn't God just want us to play? Yes, to have suffering sometimes and to learn through that suffering, but really just to be able to play. I wonder from a wholeness perspective, we're really coming back to wholeness in this golden age that I've heard from you, and I've heard from you too. The wholeness is interesting because in order for us to be whole, we have to be willing to have the courage to let go of all the things that convince us that we're not, that convince us that we're broken. And I fundamentally believe this wholeheartedly, that none of us are broken. We are not broken. We're just burdened. We're just bioenergetically burdened. So from a nourishment perspective, which we touched on, I wonder how you feel about this, Brad, the energetic burdens that we carry as men, as fathers, as mothers, as human beings. We're all burdened in some way, whether it's EMF or the soil's depleted, like we discussed last time. What is truth to you about how we're really burdened? What are the bioenergetic burdens that you feel like we all carry universally, that in a beautiful way, more light can help to ease? Light can release these burdens from our neural tree.
Yeah, just as you were talking before, addicted, and the language we use is really powerful. I think sometimes less is more in a lot of situations. It's like addicted in the word addicted is add. And we're always looking, or the mind is always looking to add more things or more solutions.
Yes.
And I feel like it's actually how we look at a cell, and at a negative way, like negatively charged. It's almost if we can go down the end of actually doing less instead of adding more things, like, oh, I've got this trauma, like I'm addicted to this trauma response, or I'm addicted to this process and I'm always in process. It's like, oh, well, what showed me on the trips that we were doing and the renouncing that we did is less is so much better, because in that less, there's more expansive God that can come through, or light that can come through. And there's not the mental capacity to add more. Because like you're saying, like, or you can do this course, you can do Tony Robbins, you can do all this sort of stuff.
It's a trap. You could do quote unquote forever and never feel whole.
Yeah. And I think that's the trap. I feel like it'll always, whatever that mind is or ego is, it'll always want more. And I feel like when God talks to me, it's like, do less, be less. Like, you're perfect and whole just the way you are. And that's a hard thing to sort of process. And I guess what we did, 99.9% of people can't do or won't do.
Sure.
Or, it's just not their right time and all this sort of language. But I feel like that's the greatest teacher to me, is like less for a man is more. And that's how I serve better, is with less. And I think that's a sort of ageless as well. And I feel like that's like the discipline as a man to do less.
Yes.
But give more. Like, with doing less about yourself, you can give more to others and serve others more.
Yeah, and it's a paradox because then we also deserve nourishment and we have goals and dreams that we want to accomplish. We were talking about this in the gym when we were walking over here. If my intention is about the joy and excitement of how I can bring more love to myself, my family, and people, then it's good. But if I find myself clenching my jaw or being in stress or scarcity or lack about something that I see as possible, then it's just my signal to chill out and go back to the pure intention of, well, why are we actually doing this in the first place? Like, why do we buy supplements? Why do we move? Why do we drink clean? Well, we're investing all the time. We spend money on things and it's an energetic exchange. You know, money is just a vehicle for belief and energy transmission. And so in order for people to make an investment in Manna or make an investment in anything, I mean, drinking clean water is an investment too. There has to be this decision point that we get to as a human being that says, I'm worthy of this. I can spend whatever I need to spend because I love how it makes me feel, because I know I can make other people feel how I feel. Energy and love is infectious, but then so is hatred. So is the survival paradigm. That's infectious too. How do you see the golden age shifting us from scarcity and survival into reason and understanding and essentially more love? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I feel like with the information age that we're in, and we've got access to a lot of the forbidden knowledge from the past that you had to kind of go on an extended journey to get access to, like the Freemasons or a lot of the sacred texts.
Yeah.
Brad and I have studied in depth, like the secret teachings of all ages, the science of getting rich, think and grow rich. So a lot of those sacred texts as well. And there's a standout message amongst all of that literature, and it is that God is abundant and nature is abundant. And God wants us to express that abundance as a child of God so that he gets to experience, or that God gets to experience its abundance through us. And abundance comes in many forms.
Yeah.
But it's so important that we don't think we've got to sacrifice that abundance or suffer to represent God, because that's not what that text's saying. And if people are interpreting the text that way, I believe they're misinterpreting it. And there's lots of ways to interpret that text, right? But I feel like the true message from that is abundance. And that's what stepping into that is our God-given right. And that's what we're here to do. And there's no lack or limitation from nature. We're not going to run out of anything in nature.
Yeah.
Which is also like a scarcity separation mindset. If we run out of gold, as an example, we'll be able to make gold, or we'll find more gold on another planet. Like, it's just one example. It's not going to run out. We don't have to think that there's a limited supply.
Yes.
There's infinite amounts of abundance and energy everywhere.
When you were speaking, all I was seeing behind you was the Philosopher's Stone. It's on the screen right now. The alchemists knew. They knew thousands of years ago. And the alchemists were actually killed and tortured and put in jail cells because they knew that their energy, their intention could change the metals. They could change things into gold. And the Philosopher's Stone, I remember Teal Swan has the tattoo of the Philosopher's Stone on her arm. And when I was interviewing her, I asked her about the tattoo, and maybe somebody hadn't asked her for a long time. But she essentially said that, and I believe this to be true. This is my next question. When we set an intention for something, we can literally turn anything into anything. We can turn poverty into wealth. We can turn disease into full-scale vitality. We can go from genetic determinism to genetic liberation. But it's because we make that choice and then we educate ourselves. Has the Philosopher's Stone and that sacred technology informed Manna in some way? I feel like it has. I feel like it's 100%.
There. Yeah. I mean, we spent a lot of time in Egypt, spent a lot of time in the Middle East, spent a lot of time reading literature about the Philosopher's Stone. And ultimately, the Philosopher's Stone is like the alchemy of ourself.
Yes.
From those denser frequencies into the frequency of light, which effectively means stepping into abundance and stepping into wholeness and stepping into greatness. And I believe actually we're the first generation where the idea of death may actually go away. So within the next 10, 20 years, we will more than likely solve illness and disease and aging with the help of AI.
Yeah.
And, that'll be an interesting evolution of abundance as well. Because once we don't die, it takes away like most people's greatest fear. Once we can make gold for like $20 an ounce, it takes away the greatest storage of value for humanity for 5,000 years.
Yeah.
And once we can manifest things from light into materialism, that's just going to be an interesting space to be in, because that is that abundance manifested in the material world. And it's coming. It's no, for thousands of years, it's just been an idea. And people have said, we don't have that opportunity to live forever. But our generation now is the first generation where that may actually take place. And if it's not our generation, it'll be the next one or the next one, but it's coming.
Yes.
Which is an interesting concept to think about, because everything changes at that point.
I love that you said our greatest fear is the fear of death, because that is actually behind almost every fight, almost every misunderstanding. It's, you didn't take out the trash, therefore you don't love me, therefore I'm going to die alone, therefore I'm afraid of death. I mean, I'm reductionizing, but that's essentially the fear of death is like, it's palpable for all of us. What do we have to be afraid of if we've lived the greatest possible life in our form of humanness, in our human body? There's nothing to be afraid of. Of course, when I pass, I'll miss hugging my children. I'll miss talking with you guys. Maybe we'll talk in some other realm, but that's palpable. And so the fear of death or the fear of worthiness, I know you've dove into that personally. The fear of worthiness. I wonder, below the fear of worthiness, was it connected to death? And if so, how have you began to transcend that yourself?
Yeah, I think you can outwork it as well, but then you can be addicted to outworking that, say, fear of death or that worthiness because you've done something successful. But I was just listening to that Philosopher's Stone, what you guys are talking about. It's just like the dualistic approach to life. It's like, on one hand, it's life and that's death, right? And it's almost like we're getting trapped in the process of believing that death is necessarily bad. I think it's just a process of life.
Yeah.
But the worthiness part for me is like, for years and years and years and years, I've had to work really hard at it. But it's just a story I've like told myself, which is not true. So if we get back to what we were saying before, it's like, I'm enough just as I am. I don't have to do anything to be enough. But I think that's what drives a lot of successful people is, not being good enough or not being worthy but I think it's just all a lie of the mind. And if we get back into that part, we talk about it often. It's like, if I get back into that part of abundance and put my intention and attention on that, because God necessarily doesn't want you to suffer for suffering's sake. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense at all to be like that.
Yeah.
But it's devotion or discipline, those sort of attentions and intentions is really, really important. So I sit in that space now as like, I don't need anything to prove that I'm worthy, because that's just buying into that the lack of. And that's like, we've read all those texts and been sitting in those, that self-help space. It's like, well, that's just another part of that addiction process, right?
Yes.
You can just stay in that circle. And we know of a lot of people that stay in that, I'm just going to do one more ceremony.
Right.
I'm going to do one more like ayahuasca thing. It's like, do you really need to?
Yes.
It's like, are you just addicted to that whole process and it's familiar? So yeah, for me, just outworking it, knowing that I've got enough proof to say that I'm not unworthy is really important.
Essentially, what the crux of the question is about identity transformation. You said we're in the golden age. Really, what emotional epigenetics is understanding that we receive trauma, which is really just energy. It's just stuck bioenergy. And then we learn how to be an adult and be mature enough to let it pass through us so that we don't give it to our children. It's both the science and the spirit of understanding. Well, we don't have to actually know why this person did it or how they did it or when it happened. In other words, knowing is not the game. And I thought for so long, you guys, that knowing who did it, who was the traumatic person, and it's just completely not important. What's really important is just acknowledging that it happened And then I can move through transformation very quickly. I mean, my life is a product of that. 10 years ago, addicted to pornography, didn't know anything really about smart supplementation, knew nothing about biophotons and light, knew nothing about it. And the more open I am to just being in the version of myself as an identity transformation architect, as a father, as a steward of sacred technology, having amazing conversations like this that move people towards more light, it's just a story I'm telling to myself. And I don't want to lessen that story or say, look how easy it is, you guys. I've suffered a lot. I've learned how to transform myself. But identity transformation, I think right now in this golden age that you spoke about, is more easy and more open and accessible to every human being that's ever lived. I don't want to say that with too much gravity because I don't want to be too serious about it. I want to be playful with it. We are living in a time where AI and resources and supplementation and light are accessible whenever we want it. And it's never existed for our parents, for our grandparents. They just didn't have it. It just wasn't there for them. Don't we have a sacred duty, a sacred, playful duty to transform our identity, to transform who we are?
100%. Yeah, that invitation's there and we get the opportunity to take the invitation and it's going exponential.
It's a hockey stick.
We're going to have more and more support from every area of life, whether it's financial opportunities, whether it's medical opportunities, biological opportunities, mental opportunities to cleanse, to become clearer. So yeah, it's for me, it's the greatest time to be alive in like the whole of humanity's history because it is going exponential towards the light and towards liberation and connection.
We chose a really fun time to incarnate. We're very fortunate. Like the capacity, I love this phrase, capacity. If our battery's full and we know who we are, if we really know who we are, anything's possible. Yeah. So anyone out there feeling this, knowing the truth that we're speaking about, you already know what to do. It's just this mental story about I have to be perfect or I have to have like people see me in the best light. I struggle with that for quite a while. Have you ever had that come up? Perfectionism in your experience, in your human experience of it has to be perfect. You know, manna has to be, the box has to be measured a certain way. Like, has that come up for you? And if so, how have you worked through that?
I mean, I look after all of the R&D for all of the products. And the reason I spend so much time on getting all of those details the best that I can is because it's to represent the product in the best way possible.
Yeah.
But it's not to be a perfectionist mentally or for something for myself. It's to represent. So the raw materials we're dealing with, we see them as living substances that are super close to the elements. And so to then honor those through like the most acute, beautiful packaging with the best possible detail and then let that go. Because if you do it really well, you only have to do it once. And from my perspective, having the deep relationship that I do with the elements and those substances, that feels like as part of the stewardship, just a representation so that they can be received in a way that's beautiful and people have a reverence for what that is. It's not just another supplement, but it's like the future of human vitality. Yeah. And so representing that in the best way possible is it's an opportunity.
With 50,000 people that have been touched by manna so far, which is wild. Now it's going to be 100,000 in the next year and then 150 and then 200,000. It's on its way. The momentum is unstoppable at this point, I feel. Do you feel the same way? The momentum that you guys have created since we did our first podcast is so incredible just to look at the trajectory of. It's an entity. Manna it's its own entity. It has its own heartbeat. It has its own, you're the stewards of it, but it has its own direction. What is the direction of manna? It has an energy. It has an entity of its own.
Yeah, I feel like God knows.
Aren't you God-godding, Brad?
Yeah. Just having awareness and sort of the three things like awareness, intuition, and play. I think that's the design of this manna movement has always been to stay in that play and to sort of feed off the awareness into intuition. It's like how we met you. It's all like divinely guided, and also there's been so many moments where we've been tipped into something where we shouldn't have, but just trusting. And I feel like that's all we can do, because sometimes when, I think we were talking about this the other day, is you focus so heavily on an outcome, there's all this other magic that you could potentially miss out on. So sort of putting hard and fast, we want to be in this spot in this time, I feel like we'll miss the channel of this sort of golden age where we could go exponential without even knowing about it. And that's not anything to do with financial. It's just opportunity and connection and just being in that space of, gratitude, all of those sort of things in the melting pot. Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know where it's going to go. Hopefully it's going to go beyond what I think about and, and it'll go on for a lot longer than I'm here. So that's all I wish for.
But there's a resonance from the 50,000 human beings that have been touched. And that resonance is something that we're all longing for, right? And it could be a few things, but I wonder how you feel. It could be the increased capacity. It could be the knowing of who we are and the remembrance process of that. It could also just be that we were brought here to be in abundance and joy. It could be one of those things or all three. What did I miss? What's the resonance of these 50,000 people? What are they longing for?
Yeah, I mean, the greatest scientist last century in my mind was someone that said, if you want to understand the secrets to the universe, focus on energy, frequency, and vibration. And that's what we've done at MANNA. So when we're talking about charge and hydration, when we're talking about energy, cognitive function, hormone balance, and then when we're talking about light with the gold, so the energy, the cognitive function, the hormone balance is the shilajit, and then the hydration and the charge is the ocean plasma and the ormus. So within those three raw ingredients, we're highly focused on charge. We're highly focused on modulating and priming the body's intelligence to be more efficient. And so as we go into this age of liberation and the golden age, that's going to become more and more recognized. So we're changing the supplement industry with these products, focusing on that gap between energy and form. That's what these are a food source for. So, it's back to what Brad was saying as well. It's like we're charging up the battery. We're charging up the cells. We're charging up the body so that it can be more intelligent and elevate us into higher states of being.
And when you say light, frequency, and sound, everything in my body just says yes. Because we all want that, but we're in this age of caffeine. It's one of the reasons I love our mutual friend Sean and paraxanthine. It's like we actually get to have a lot of stacking and a lot of synergy and a lot of smart supplementation if we are to thrive in this age. There's plastics. I think I read that we have like a credit card of plastic in our body at any given time. Isn't that wild to even think about? Like the yoga pants and the Teflon and the pans. And so anyways, we're in an age of enlightenment. We're in an age of gold. We receive this charge, but then there's still a detoxification that must happen. And this is the whole wing of this next slew of products with the beta glucans and everything else that you've created. Was the next iteration of MANNA a request from the 50,000 people? Or was it something where you were just like, hey, God, what do you want next? Was it both?
It's a combination. So we've had a suite of 13 products ready to go from the get-go. We've been playing around with them in my little cabin for the last 12, 13 years.
Is it literally
intensely?
A cabin?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Tiny little cabin.
Sweet.
It's collapsed now, so I've moved on from that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's something that's part of that manifestation from when we went out into nature and received the codes from the Himalayas, from Egypt, from the Dead Sea. It's all based around frequency, energy and vibration, charging up the body to become that capacitor that can hold these new light codes and actually align us with our highest potential. And so there are two products that were outside of that, and that is the beta glucan, which is stimulating the immune cells to remove pathogens in the body, whether they're parasites or viruses. It's got more clinical studies on it than any other product. And that was inspired by a doctor that we've worked closely with over the last 6 or 7 years. And yeah, all of the other products are something that have been part of our DNA, and it's just been waiting to the right time. So back to your thing, it's like we've got these 50,000 amazing loyal customers based off 2 products, which is MANNA and MANNA Gold. Yeah. And now we introduced 4 last month, and we've got another 5 to come. So I see the fact that we're way showers in that energy medicine, if you will, and in that medicine and supplementation of charge and voltage and frequency, that, it's going to go exponential for the brand because more and more people are sick of taking supplements that don't do anything.
Yeah.
Or tired of taking supplements that don't work. Whereas these products work. You can feel the impact. You can notice the difference.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, within 5 minutes. And that's the thing in the whole supplement world. It's not to talk smack about anybody that was at the conference, but there was like thousands of vendors. And I'm just like, what's really the truth about the needle that gets to be moved in us? What's the real truth about that? And that's why I align with you guys so deeply, because I use it every day, multiple times a day. And I know it's who I am. It's something that I believe in because I feel it in myself. It's different than just an intellectual. Well, I've read the studies and I know that, this pathogen can be removed. I like all the science. The science is great. I think there's room for science and spirit both at the table. But the biggest report card is just how do you feel?
Yeah.
Because when you feel good, like I was saying earlier, you can make others feel good. And that, I believe, is what's being called forth. We can't make others feel great if we ourselves feel empty, if we don't have the charge. And so I wonder in the high level concept of nourishment, how do some of these things nourish? The beta glucans are studied to actually remove things or delete things from the body. But what are the other products that you've created and how do they work synergistically together?
So the beta glucans, as I said, they're modulating and priming the immune cells to remove pathogens, which is really important at the moment. And the immune product, Immune Plus, that actually has a combination of alma and rosehip in it. So vitamin C is so important for our body. The best forms of vitamin C is kakadu, plum, alma, and rosehip.
What is alma?
Alma is like an Indian gooseberry.
Okay.
Yeah. And the challenge that we found with vitamin C is 90% of vitamin C in the market is ascorbic acid, and 90% of the ascorbic acid is genetically modified corn syrup. That's the source. So it's not actually doing anything for the body. So people think they're buying vitamin C and they're getting the benefits, but it's not actually doing anything.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're getting it from alma berry and rosehip, you're getting it from nature. And importantly, you're getting the ascorbic acid with bioflavonoids, enzymes, and minerals. So it's really important that it's got that holistic approach and it's got all of those other components because the body can recognize it and utilize it. Whereas when it's synthetic or it's genetically modified, the body doesn't know how to or what to do with it. It actually becomes harmful. So yeah, the combination of those 2 immune products, beta glucan from reishi mushroom and also oats, along with the immune product, which is nature's best form of vitamin C, amongst a whole heap of other things. If you're taking those 2 products for your immune system, it's going to be impenetrable effectively.
Yeah. Which then would that be increasing our capacity to receive the fulvic and the other light emitting supporters?
Definitely, yeah. So the fulvic working with those actually breaks them down into a smaller particle size again and improves that absorption. And fulvic acid can cross that cell membrane potential, so it can take the nutrients in and it can remove toxins. So they're super complementary with the Shilajit and with the ocean plasma as well.
Who was the doctor? Was that Dr. Beth that y'all were working with?
Correct, yes.
She's amazing. She's very intelligent.
Yeah, and beta glucan outside of MANNA is her most favorite product.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just started taking the beta glucan. Now, this is something where it's different than the minerals and the shilajit and the ormus and the gold. With that, you can feel it immediately. I mean, you can feel the charge in your body. But these are more protective on the long scale, like a sustainable, building essentially a bulletproof immune system. The pieces that came together for this are sublime. So you had Dr. Beth, your own research, your own travels. What surprised you the most when you were creating the new products, where you just had like this light bulb moment of like, oh my God, these things work so perfectly together. How did we even find this? Did you have an aha moment when you were creating the new line?
That's more of a question for David from the product R&D perspective. Yeah, I think he goes so deep into, I guess, like your minerals, and then into beta glucan was just such an easy one to look at because it was so complementary to everything else. And it's always that theory of like, if there's something that's better out there than say fulvic acid or, shilajit or ocean minerals, we'll definitely look at because it has to complement everything else.
Yeah, because there's so many stacks and so much building blocks that go into synergy. That word synergy is interesting. I think that some things might be proclaimed as synergistic, but for something to have true synergy, it has to have synergy of mind, body, spirit. It has to be an alchemical synergy. Did you have the aha light bulb moment with the new line in some way where you just saw all the puzzle pieces come together?
100%. Yeah.
What was that?
Well, two of the new capsule lines are ormus and shilajit, which we've worked with before. So that was from customer feedback where shilajit, as you know, just has such a strong taste. So a lot of people said,
I love it.
Is there a way you can put it in a capsule
right
form?
In. Yeah,
we do as well. There's still probably 50% of people that struggle with the flavor.
Okay.
So now they've got the option of not tasting it.
Sure.
But yeah, it just comes back to that complete suite. So now how I see it as mapping these products out in R&D is we've got hydration and charge with the ocean plasma and the ormus. We've got energy, cognitive function, hormone balance with the shilajit. We've got light and charge with the gold. And we've got the immune modulation that removes pathogens, which is huge. And we've got the vitamin C, the skin glow, and the hair health with the Immune Plus. And then we've got the beauty line, which we're releasing in August, which is really important as well because that is the highest frequency oils on the planet. So we're embalming ourselves with high frequency substances like the Egyptians used to do.
Yeah. And I remember one of our most famous clips, I think it had like 500,000 views or more. It was about the Essenes and the wisdom that you shared. When we look back on history, and you don't have to go into the Essenes, we'll link the clip that you shared, and so you can go into that. Was there a through line with all the ancient cultures when they would use these frequency supplementations, either on their skin or ingesting them? Was it the gold or was it something else? I'm sure it was the gold, obviously, but there had to have been a through line in all these walks of life where they all went to the same substances.
Yeah, I mean, an area that had a really big impact on me was where I slept at the Dead Sea. It's called Engedi at the Dead Sea for 3 months. And the reason it had a big impact is because it was on a bunch of ley lines, song lines. It had hot springs, black mud pools. The Dead Sea was right there. So that's like the most incredible mineral expression on the planet. But that particular area was where Cleopatra visited in 30 BC and spent time with the Essenes and learned how to produce the alchemical gold from Dead Sea water, which was a white substance, which you hear about Cleopatra's bath milk, but that was actually ormus. And she fell in love with that area so much, she was going out with Mark Antony at the time, that he traded with King Herod, who owned the area, and gave her that area as a gift. So a lot of it dates back to that. She was dealing with rose oil, something else called ambergris, and frankincense. And then she also had access to the gold in a metallic form and in an alchemical editable form. So a lot of our research goes back to those areas and a lot of the other things that the Essenes and the Egyptians were doing as well. And that's what we're representing now. So there's been secret societies throughout time that have known about these substances, like the Knights Templar, but the true power of edible gold and ormus and the healing power of those has been hidden until now. Yeah.
I love that you said representing. Representing. We're not reinventing the wheel, are we? We're just discovering how the wheel turns. That's what this feels like to me. There's no, like, you guys are amazing at the research and being a steward of the technology. But like you said, this technology has existed for so long. Is it because we're in the golden age? Like, in other words, why now in this exact moment in humanity is this being called forward? It has to be because we're ascending faster than we could have ever realized. It has to be the timing.
Yeah, there's nothing new here.
Right.
This has been around for thousands of years. It's been guarded throughout the last millennia because people that were interpreting the sacred text with separation, this was a threat to them because this is the great connector. So this is bringing the power back within rather than saying the savior's outside of us. And when there's more light at a particular time of the cycle, literally light from the stars and the cosmos, which is another way of interpreting the golden age, we get access to all of this additional information that previously would only be for the elite.
Yeah.
And it becomes, the abundance again, it becomes available for everybody. So that's what we're making available for everybody. And we believe hundreds and then thousands and tens of thousands of beings will also have access to these substances and will create companies with all different forms of edible gold, with all different forms of ormus. And that's the greatest thing that we want because we don't believe in competition. It's just collaboration and abundance. And we can't get these products out to everybody.
Sure.
But they should be available for everybody. And so the more people that can get those out, the better. And that exponential will, it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that will be an expression that will be part of that happening. Well, these substances will become available for everybody.
It's fun to be a part of it. You said it's going to happen
100%.
anyways, but it's so fun to just be like, have your little chip. Like, oh, I did that, it's my service. That's my offering, actually. It's a sacred offering. There's a confluence we're at, though. And the confluence is way more than just raising human consciousness. I mean, that's a big part of it. So there's the AI that's coming in, like the waters in the Amazon, how the one water's clear, one water's dark, and then there's the confluence where they mix. But I feel like what's going to be created from this confluence of supplementation built on light and human intelligence to awaken the capacitor in charge and AI together, it's going to be, buckle up, yo. It's going to be a wild time. Do you feel this? And if so, how do you describe this confluence of technology and AI, light supplementation that gives us the capacity to give and receive more light? What do you think the mixture of water at the end of the confluence might be?
Yeah, it's a good question.
This is the kind of stuff I think about when I lay down.
So
I love that, especially when I have the gold.
Yeah.
Especially when I have the gold, I'm like, what's the meaning?
We talk about it often as well, and we believe all the AI and the part of the cycle we're going through is perfect and divine.
Yeah.
My biggest thing, intuition-wise, is like the biology needs to come online, so it needs that charge and light, and it's as simple as that. Like, until have that beautiful mix, you need a substrate or a building block for it, and I guess the remembering or the coming back online is what we've sort of just presented to the world at the right time. And all of these things are just timing. It's like we've been guided to do this, and it's not ours. We never look at it as ours. It's like our primary role is to steward these back in, and we've been given these gifts of like skills from God to do these things, to be a steward. And I feel like it's just remembering and coming back online, and the biology to fit into that cycle needs more light. And the capacitor needs to hold more light.
Yeah.
So it's just a perfect time to have the biology primed and ready to access that, where you can just do whatever you're meant to do here.
When I was in the sauna this morning, I was listening to Alan Watts. If there was one guy, well, I'd want like Jesus, Alan Watts, and Neville Goddard, and probably Napoleon Hill if I was really going to create the ultimate mastermind. Anyways, he was sharing God's favorite game to play is hide and seek, because God's just remembering God's self through us. Now, for the scientific minds or the right brain, essentially, we know that human intelligence over time gets larger, right? So we could say it's a spiritual evolution. We could also say it's a mental evolution. But either way, inside of evolution is the word love. We complicate the shit out of this, don't we? Oh my God. In the word evolution is love. It's literally baked into evolution. I don't believe that growth just for growth's sake or AI just for AI's sake to control and dominate. We're in this illusionary bifurcation that your supplements are essentially an answer for. I've never thought about this. This is why I love podcasting. When we're receiving more light and the biofield and our charge is here, then we are not susceptible to lies. We cannot be told that love is not in evolution. We cannot be told that if you buy this, then you'll be whole, or if you do what I say, then you'll be enough. We become unfuckwithable, in another word. Do you feel this? Is it palpable for you? I feel it now more than ever.
And that's what we mean by increasing the charge or increasing the frequency or increasing the light, is once you've got a certain light quotient in the body, it pushes out that density. It pushes out those separational thoughts. And that's why you have the dreaming.
Yes.
And some of that dreaming can be quite vivid and quite terrifying at times, but it's pushing that density out. And it's like a Vipassana. You know, Vipassana, you're sitting in the same spot for 10 days.
Yeah, that's rough.
And you're having those sankharas, and they're super uncomfortable as well, but it's an acceleration of the density leaving the vehicle. And so that's what the gold's doing as well. And that's what the Ormus is doing as well. And that's what the Shilajit's doing as well. Yeah. So when we're increasing that light quotient and we're pushing out that density, then to your point, you are unfuckable.
Yeah, you can't be dominated.
You can sense the truth. You can access the truth. You've got that crystalline mind. Your intuition's like a satellite, so you can answer questions and see the answers to questions that previously were unknown. And when you feel that empowered, then you're more aligned with your true self. You're more aligned with your Dharma. You're more aligned with God. You're more peaceful. You have less fear of death. You're happier to be here and experience this.
Absolutely.
There's a level of transparency too. I feel like there's a transparency in government. There's a transparency in companies. Like that's like when you're talking about light and you're talking about light as well. Like I just see this like translucent being just sitting there. Like there's nothing that can be dark or nefarious in it because it has to be transparent or it's just going to be like violently pushed one way.
I'm with you. Sometimes I'll have a guest and I may not agree with what they're saying, but instead of fighting them or pushing or trying to poke and prod their opinion, I'll just let them be who they are. And then we can all decide together. In other words, I don't have to fight for the truth is what I'm saying. It's already illuminating itself by someone's behavior, by their beingness. And so I find that to be really cool. It reminds me of the story of the Trojan horse. And you guys know this story, right? I think it was the Roman Empire where I don't know the exact army, but all the men hid inside the horse. They thought it was a gift, a signal of their submission. And when the Trojan horse got through the castle wall and it was cranked up, all the soldiers came out and they defeated them. And that's what this is. This is essentially a Trojan horse for consciousness. And we need lots and lots of people on the horse. We need so many people on the horse because we're essentially ripping out a tree from the previous age. What was the previous age before the golden age? Do you know the age that was precluded this? It was an age that was less light, less dark, more.
Well, I just see it as an age of separation.
An age of separation.
Where we had wars. We thought we had to fight. We thought we had to we thought we were individuals and personalities, and that's all there was. We didn't realize that we were children of God.
Yeah.
We thought God was something external that was going to save us, not light within inside of us that we can evolve into that abundance and appreciate that.
And so if identity transformation has less to do with a war, I only use the Trojan horse analogy because I think it's pretty cool. It's like completely, they didn't know it was coming. And then all this revolution happened because the truth was hidden inside of the gift. The gift that I think we're in right now is actually that we can actually become anything we want to. And this isn't just metaphysical or esoteric. I'm living proof. I wonder where I'll be when I'm 55, because my transformation from 35 when I started the podcast to 45, like, you guys can feel it. You know, you come on my land, and I was renting an apartment the last time, and now I own a land. I don't say this to be like, look how cool Josh is. It's not about that. It's about giving permission of hopeful intelligence. I heard Dispenza say this once, like, hope is for a beggar. But if you have intelligent hope, if your hope is based on who you are, then it's really just intelligence expressing itself. That's essentially what we're living through. So I'm just giving permission for me and all of us to be what you are. Go live your dream. Go do your thing. Go, if you want to be a singer, if you want to be a dancer, if you want to be a professional BJJ, whatever, go do it, because now's the time. We've never lived in a time quite like this. Do you feel this? Is it palpable for you too?
100%. Yeah, we were talking about it last night. We were talking about abundance and sharing more of our abundant lifestyles that we've also manifested with the public, because we haven't really been doing that. And yeah, I mean, that is why we want to raise that charge in the body again, is because people will have more inspiration and more courage and more capacity to step into that abundance. And then you're going to be feeling better.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It's getting out of the drama, the suffering, and the depressive thoughts that we've all been there. We know how painful that is.
Sure.
But that's that invitation now, is to step out of that into true joy and peace and all of those other beautiful expressions that we've discussed. So yeah, that's our prayer for everybody. And that's what we're supporting with these beautiful products, with these beautiful supplements, with these beautiful elements.
Was your wife taking the MANNA products when Ocean was in utero?
Yeah, so it's actually a really beautiful story that after our podcast this time last year, where we actually came over to manufacture the gold for the first time. So we had gold with us, and I flew Susie over to the States. She hadn't been to the States before when we'd finished our work here, and we started taking the gold straight away. First night she arrived. We took it every day. We went over to New York. We went to Rome, proposed in Rome, and then conceived a few days later. And now we have our beautiful baby 12 months later. So Ocean's 3 months old. But through that entire 12-month period, Suze was taking the gold every day. So, yeah, to answer your question.
It made a significant impact, I'm sure.
We'll wait and see. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, she's a beautiful, radiant, healthy little baby girl.
Yes.
And it's going to be so amazing as her father and as a provider for her, to guide her along the way and see what happens.
Why did you name her Ocean?
Yeah, Ocean just means so much to me. I know everything's made from light, minerals, and water. And so the ocean is water and minerals that's been sun gazing longer than anything else on the planet.
Yeah.
But also we're actually flying from Denver to New York. We'd just taken off in Denver, so we're as far from the ocean as you can get. And we just decided that we wanted to have a child for the first time. And we were sitting together on the plane looking at girls' names, and Ocean came through as clear as day. And we wanted to see Ocean before we kind of confirmed it. And it's the perfect name. I mean, she's got blue eyes that's as deep as the ocean. And
yes.
Suze has got beautiful blonde hair. I had blonde hair when I was little, so I think she'll be blonde haired, blue eyed, and yeah, it just feels right.
Yeah, actually, my fiance asked me, the baby's name is Ocean. Why? And I was like, I don't know. So I get to ask that. The stewardship of children, you know, you're so blessed because not everybody is designed to have children in this lifetime. And that's okay. Like, we can all steward a child in many ways. It doesn't have to be a biological child. The creation force of life itself and sex energy is really powerful. And because of pornography and my own experience with porn, which I've shared before, that was dimmed. My light was dimmed sexually for quite some time. And it wasn't until I met my fiance where I woke up to ways of being that didn't serve me anymore. And then the children came through, and I feel so blessed by that. Sex energy, life creation force, the emanation of life through the penis entering the vagina, like, it's so sacred, it's so profound. Yet because of the bioenergetic burdens that I had mentioned, I had asked you, Brad, and also men's testosterone just plummeting. Shilajit is so powerful for this. You had an experience where you took Shilajit in a certain form. It was through, obviously, the MANNA technology, but your testosterone rose, which is incredible. Did you feel that in your body pulsing? Did you do an N=1 experiment for like 30 days?
Yeah.
This is really big, because if you look at the research, testosterone's lowering, fertility rates are lowering. It's a real thing in our current experience for many people.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, it doubled. So the first time we measured
it doubled.
It doubled. And the biggest thing that I find, there's two things. It's like what you've said a few times on it. It's like there's the science and there's your intuition that you know is happening at the same time.
Yes.
And it's like, I feel like the body gives off a certain energy at that time as well. So you know that there's more of an attractive state because that magnetism starts to happen. So, you know, okay, your testosterone doubles, but, you know, there's other things like vitamin D. It's like the tenets that we live by, getting in the sun. So your vitamin D's up, and that's one of the hormones that is a precursor for a lot of men's hormones especially. So that was like doing a lot of morning walks with sunlight and getting into the ocean. So there's the minerals. So we're sort of like, we live by those ethos as well. We laugh about it, but they'd naturally come just to us. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the emanation of magnetism is probably the most palatable thing with Shilajit. You know, like you can just tell that you're more attractive to the other sex, not even looking at your biomarkers, right? Because that's just science.
Yeah.
Ticking that box.
It's fun to look at.
Yeah, it's fun to look at. But even one of our mutual friends, you know who I'm talking about, who introduced us.
Yes.
She was messaging me during a period where she started taking MANNA twice a day. I've never heard of a woman doing that. And she goes, oh my gosh, Brad, I was at the gym. This guy was looking at me. This guy was looking at me. So there's something in that magnetism that starts to happen, which I really love as well.
Yeah.
And that's what we're really stoked on. We get so many stories of people messaging us. Oh, my partner and I started taking MANNA, you know, we conceived, and we know of a lot of other people that have actually conceived in the first sort of 2 to 3 months. So it takes like 90 days. So all of those bodily fluids start moving again.
Yeah.
You know, men's testosterone starts rising, and, you know, it sort of like complements all of those sort of things. And with what we talk about often, it's the intention behind not just taking these incredible, beautiful supplements. It's what we talk about to do as well, which is light, which is like water. So you're upregulating everything in your life to get back into that incredible charge that where you're going to sort of, you know, conceive, you know, attract the opposite sex.
Yeah.
So it's all of it, you know, like it's not just, oh, my testosterone is proven by science.
Yes.
It's actually the magnetism and the spirit and stuff like that.
So scientifically and spiritually, it's baby making fuel.
Totally.
Is what you said.
Yeah. Fill in the gaps, baby making material, get on it, make sure you have a lot of it.
Listen.
Minimum of 2 MANNA sachets a day for 14 days, and let me know how you go.
Wow. Okay. Well, you've actually had people write in and say we conceived part and parcel because of MANNA.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And not just part and parcel of MANNA, but just a lifestyle change.
Sure.
And intention and attention to it.
This is so good. And it's so great because we're literally going full circle to how we started the conversation with nourishment. So on my shirt, which is available for purchase, by the way, it's the one that people buy the most. It's the Wellness Pentagon. And I put the physical at the bottom because nothing else can breathe. Nothing else can thrive if our physical self is dimmed. This is where it all begins from. And I have to say it again. It's like, it's a duh moment. It's kind of like Homer Simpson when he's like, duh. It's the same thing for all of us, though. If the physical body is dampened and we are running around just super burdened, we're not going to have the energy to get an erect hard on. It's not going to happen. A woman who's burdened is not going to feel open sexually. And really, it's like start where you are. You could actually start in any path of the pentagon. If you want to go deep with God, great. If you want to process your emotions, cool. If you want to go into feeling, that's a powerful conduit as well. In other words, start where you are with what you have. And then eventually you'll find these types of supplements just weave their way into your life naturally. They just kind of happen. Have you found this to be the case?
100%. Yeah, 100%. It's one of the most inspiring things for us with the product is the effect that it has on people's relationship, on libido, on that hormone therapy side of things. I mean, testosterone, Shilajit is kind of known as a men's product somewhat because it talks about testosterone, but testosterone is so important for women as well. And the rest of what Shilajit is doing, being fertilizer for the blood and getting all of those organs functioning back in an optimal state again. And the cognitive component of testosterone is really important for mental health. So it's that libido component. It's making people feel amazing, feel connected. And like I was saying before, one of the most inspiring parts of Manna for me, way back when we started, some of the first best feedback we were getting from people was that they had been trying to get pregnant. One couple was for 10 years. They tried everything and they both took Manna for a month and the lady was pregnant. And we've had that so many times over the years now. And even women that are like mid-40s and had given up and they've contacted us and saying, thank you so much. We've become pregnant. So a lot of those reviews mean a lot to us. Obviously, the power of being able to, create another being and have that experience is so profound. So for Manna to be able to contribute to that and just that mental health and people's physiology is profound.
The personal messages that I've received, I send you guys screenshots sometimes. I'm like, sometimes they're emotional and I have that cry feeling because I'm like, how special is it? How fun is it that we get to do what we get to do to bring light to other people and then to receive that light back? I could do that for the rest of my life. Yeah. I could do that if money was not even a thing. And that's how you know you're onto something good. I think Alan Watts said this, go do the thing that you would love to do if money was no option.
Yeah.
Because eventually you'll get so good at it that you'll be able to make a living and make a living giving your joy or giving your love to the world. But we complicate this. We started with nourishment. Let's end with intellectualism, because intellectualism, I believe, is a disease. Intellectualism, over-intellectualizing healing, over-intellectualizing humanness. I've fallen into that trap many times. And occasionally I still do. And then I take some Manna and get more playful. But intellectualism is both necessary at times, but it can also be a plague in others. What do you make of that, intellectualism and play? And what's the center point of those two worlds for you?
As you talk about that, I just think about mental masturbation. Like we've laughed about this often. It's like we can all be a victim of it, but bringing back and getting back into your body and awareness and, just having a break in that mental masturbation is really important too.
Yes.
And playing, like getting back into your body, jumping on the grass, grounding. It's all those things that we know. But when we're in something or obsessed, I get super obsessed by stuff like, okay, what's our strategy? What's our next why? What do we, and it's sort of like, whoa, it's like, it's going to be very obvious that it's going to come. It always has been and always will be very obvious to us and we'll be guided. And so it's like, hey, it's not you doing it. Just be the steward, get this out for people's intelligence and they can do what they want with it. Yeah. So I think sometimes like everyone's got that addiction to that mental masturbation. Because everything is so information dense.
Right. And we're in this world of information. Maybe one could call it the golden age, cross-sectioned with the informational age. And I wonder how you feel, David. I feel like intellectualism and ego is actually really beautiful. It has a beauty to it, but left unchecked or not embodied in truth or in heart, it can be really damaging. It's an energy of its own, the ego, the intellectual mind. It deserves respect. I don't agree with making the ego our enemy, but it deserves a certain way that it's stewarded. How do you steward your own ego and make it not about you so you can enjoy? How do you do that?
Yeah, I think understanding that the mind is a wonderful tool that we have access to as a human. However, like, you know, nature is our teacher, and looking at things holistically and realizing that nature actually has everything already. It's like when we were at the biohacking conference the other day, there was a whole heap of light therapies and red light therapy as an example. And I think it's wonderful. It's, again, the mind playing and creating.
Sure.
However, the sun gives us all light and full spectrum light, and it's there every day for free. So it's almost humorous to me that we'll then go and create like one spectrum of that, put that in isolation, and our mind will tell us that like it's the newest, greatest thing.
Yeah.
It's great because it's play.
Sure.
But I think also surrendering that and going, that's an incredible device. That bed looks amazing. That's going to have a great impact on your health. But you can get all of that and more by going out into nature and getting some morning sun, because you'll get the red light plus all the other lights. And that was a big part of our learning, spending time in nature, was it's so important to get a holistic approach and get all of the light or all of the minerals.
Yeah.
You know, so with MANNA, it's like you're not just taking a magnesium supplement, because that'll throw the body out of balance again, but you're getting all of the minerals that are available from the ocean, from the plant world, and the body's intelligence takes what it needs. So, I mean, I find the intelligence and the mind as just that beautiful tool, and we're so fortunate to have it. But then detaching from that and understanding that is just a tool, and nature and the body's intelligence is far, 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 far superior.
Yeah, so much so. You know, I was thinking when you're talking, you could essentially go hike up a mountain in the Himalayas and harvest your own Shilajit. Then you could go travel to the Dead Sea and get the Ormus if you wanted to, but there's a cost there, right? In other words, it's still nature. We're still utilizing the aspects of nature that are inherently free. You're just saving people probably like 6 months of travel and tens of thousands of dollars and going and harvesting this stuff yourself.
And by the way, my suggestion would be to go and do that.
Go and do it. How fun would that be?
However, a lot of people don't have the opportunity.
Sure.
But if you've got the opportunity, go and do it, because the substances will become part of you in a whole different way. And the journey is so profound that you'll learn so much about yourself. Those two environments are so extreme.
So extreme.
And they bring up so much. Then there's so much beauty to that. I mean, we were fortunate enough to have that experience. However, we realize a lot of people can't access that at the moment. So we're bringing it into people's kitchen.
You spent a lot of time with monks, both of you did. And, you know, in the same vein of intellectualism, the monks have really mastered the mind being a servant through their meditation practices and everything else. What did you both learn most about intellectualism from the monks that you spent time with, and also the monks that harvest some of the Shilajit as well?
Yeah, for me, it's that the mind is a tool, and just to keep letting go of our thoughts and the ideas that we have of ourselves and the conditioning. And just, if you just keep letting go of all of that, what's left is just spaciousness. And that's the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced, is being able to just sit in that void or that spaciousness, which I understand to be God, because it's the infinite, eternal expression of nothingness, where everything resides from and returns back to.
That's the deepest answer I think I've ever heard from about what you've learned from a monk. That's palpable. I remember I was interviewing Sarah Baldwin, and she said she had a moment where she realized that from the nothingness, that all there is pure love. And that's what I just felt when you described that. Did you have a similar experience when you were spending time with them?
Yeah, and I had my own experience as well, experientially, with meditation and going so deep with Vipassana, with silent retreats, is sitting there for like hours on end, and everything hurts, and the mind's going, oh, my knee hurts, oh, it's from this injury, or my teeth hurts now, or, you know, my ankle's sore, I can't feel anything. And then once you just put attention on like the breathing in, right? The breath, which you do a lot of.
Yeah.
That mind just dissipated. There was nothing left to that nothingness. And there was just this pure bliss for moments on end. And then it's like the trick for me was like being addicted to those blissful moments. So then you're always chasing those moments of just pure nothingness and pure bliss. But what I've experienced outside of that, you know, meditation is being in nature with total expansion and having the same feeling. So you don't have to necessarily do it in the middle of a meditation retreat or the nothingness in the middle of nowhere with nothing and no resources. You can use those same skill sets to do that at home with your kids, at home at work. And I think that's an art form that I feel like that whole experience has taught me is you don't have to be a monk and renounce everything because that's not the answer. Trust me. It's for certain people. But yeah, just bringing that back into your everyday as much as you can.
More power to them, the people that are devoted to that life, the monks and the nuns. I did a Vipassana with tinnitus. I still have it. And tinnitus drives people crazy. There's actually people that have taken their own life from tinnitus. And I still have it now, but I've used the mind in the way that I'm asking you guys about intellectualism. And whenever I hear it, I just thank God that I'm alive. It's like an on switch. And then it doesn't control me. Like I can hear it now, but it just connects me with you guys. It's this reframing that a lot of this conversation has been to move out of this intellectual sickness that we all experience, but we don't have to take part in it. It's just about having conversations like this. So y'all share this podcast with somebody who's suffering, with somebody that deserves more light, which is everyone. We all deserve more light. With all your travels and all the things that you guys have learned, especially in the past 3 years of our friendship and the 50,000 plus lives that have been moved by Manna, what have you learned most about yourself in this 3-year journey since you began?
It's a great question because, you know, it's one thing wandering around the planet with nothing and going to these beautiful locations.
Seriously.
And learning about these natural substances and the impact they can have, to then developing a finished product, to then starting a project or a company that then takes off, and you've got to manage the scalability of that. You've got to manage the operations of that. You've got to manage the finances of that. You've got to manage the relationships of that. You've got to manage all of those different components. I feel like the first 12 months, there was a massive momentum because we were growing like 35% month on month for the first 12 months. And then the second year, we continued that growth and introduced the highest frequency supplement on the planet, being the MANNA Gold. And now I've been developed 9 new products, which completes our suite. However, you know, with that success, relationships change. People come at you differently with different expectations or want different things from you. So it's the management of, you know, I probably get 400 to 500 messages a day. And so it's the management of all of that that's coming back at you. And the busyness of that has been a raising capacity, especially with me now starting a family. But it's a beautiful thing. And I mean, having Brad as a business partner and as a brother, we get to balance that together. So we have hard times and beautiful times, but just knowing that we're in it together and we've come from a place where we know who we are. We realize that we just do our best day by day. We don't get too far ahead of ourselves. And, we're not too attached to the outcome. So we both work on this from sunrise to sunset. We give it absolutely everything we can to represent the nature of these substances, these raw materials, and to help as many people as we can raise that charge so their experience of life is more fulfilling and they're more connected. However, you know, if the whole thing was taken away tomorrow, we'd be okay with that, because of our connection to source, and we would just realize that we've done the best we can and there's something else we're then meant to move on to and start doing. But it is a lot. It's been a lot. However, we just feel so appreciative and fortunate that we've got ourselves into this situation, and the feedback from the field has been so appreciative and so abundant.
Yeah. A lot of capacity, to use that word, a lot of expanded capacity, which creates new levels of maturity and being a father at the same time. There's a lot there.
Yeah,
it's very admirable.
The sleep deprivation adds another layer.
Do you ever wonder why God designed it that way, where we have to suffer so much with this, especially the moms? The moms have it way worse than the dads.
Ocean's 13 weeks old, and I've been wondering that for the last 10 years.
Can I survive on 2 hours of sleep? I guess I will.
Yeah.
How about for you, Brad? What have you learned about yourself the most in these past 3 years with our journey together?
Yeah, I was smiling that whole time David was sort of unpacking that question, because there's just so many, ebbs and flows, and so many things that if I was told would happen, I wouldn't have believed them. So there's an element of like summarizing that as trust. Trust that if you're putting the right things out there, the right things will come back. And also to add, it's like there's a season for all of it. There's a season for us renouncing and going on these wild journeys that 99.9% of people would never go on, but not to be attached to that's who we are. And there's a season for us to be amazingly abundant and to be able not to be attached to that either. And we've got some great examples of that in our network, that incredibly abundant, but not shy of showing their abundance.
Yeah.
And I think that's an art form and a skill, and just realizing the whole thing's divinely timed and it's all perfect. And at the end of the day, no one actually really cares. And that laughter, right? That's the things. That's the thing that gets me out of it. Is like, no one actually really cares.
Yes.
In a way that gets me off the hook for sort of putting myself or throwing myself under the bus. So it's all the things that David said. It's that we always go through a season and trust, and no one cares at the end of the day, and just do your best.
I've learned the most that my capacity is unlimited, but only if I have the wisdom to nurture it. And my wisdom comes from being playful, which it's so easy. Playfulness is so easy, yet in the past, especially when we first met, I made it really challenging. I can't play unless I've earned my play. That was an old story that I used to play. Yeah,
I can really feel that. This time. Is like there's such a deep sense of play.
Let's play, guys. Yeah. It doesn't have healing, transformation, smart supplements, growth, expansion. It doesn't have to be so serious. It can be so much more playful. And that's essentially what I love with our friendship. How you guys have transformed my life. I take the product every day, sometimes 3 times a day. It's just been monumental. So I'm just so stoked on our friendship, so stoked on our podcasting together, how we get to share this light with the world. It's so fun. So thank you guys for coming back for round 3. I look forward to our event in round 4. I'm planting that seed in the garden to do an activation event where we can have people experience light through movement, through play, through breath, through manna. It's so palpable for me. And I just love you guys. Thanks for being my guest on round 3.
Big love. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, I love you so much, brother. Thanks for everything that you've done for us. And certainly being able to come over to the US from Australia and spend time with you is, just such a great blessing. We love you deeply.
Love you too, man. Love you too as well. All right, let's go play. Let's go cold. Let's go cold plunge in sauna. Y'all share this podcast. Thank you guys from my heart for being able to offer a olive branch of a discount to the audience. It's not cheap. It's not easy to make these products. They're sourced with such care. There's so much energy that goes into this. So thank you guys for the discount. It's on the screen right now, joshtrent.com/manna, MANNA. Y'all, please share this podcast with somebody who would resonate with more light. If you feel like a grandfather or grandmother or friend is suffering and you get this sense that they would just do so well with more light and more charge, share this podcast with them. Until we see you on another one, I'm wishing you love, wellness, but most importantly, peace and power. You cannot have power unless it comes from peace. And that's where all the light is. All right, we'll talk with you soon.